Apple Card?
I don't know if
Friends?
you can see the bad things you do, and I'm losing every piece of respect for you. Yeah,
So her body shot. Godfrey. Good stance. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. These are gnats. What are these?
All the girls get weaker just by looking at you. Those big brown eyes always take over the room. Yeah, you can make me laugh and cry just by being
But the Fuji has different
around.
colors, of course.
If heaven's door is open, it's 'cause you kicked it down. Every word you say, every smile you fake, I let you go. It's sad to see you feeding off the feeling. Every heart you break, every soul you shake, I let you go. It's you, not me, who messed up.
Hey everyone. Today I am doing a camera comparison between two medium format mirrorless cameras, the Fujifilm GFX 50R and the Hasselblad X1D that Nina is holding. And some of you may want to consider bringing one of these for travel if you want the ultimate image quality, because they are both pretty small in size. But I know, Nina, you made a comment earlier about the Fujifilm GFX, how it looks like.
So much bigger in person than it does like on
Pictures.
Yeah, pictures and videos. But this one's good. It feels good in my hands. Yeah.
Also, could you also do an introduction about yourself?
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Nina. I've been in a video before.
On the channel?
On the channel, yes.
About 3 years ago, I
3
think.
years ago,
Yeah.
with 9K views, right?
Yes, about 9,000 views.
Thank you guys. The last video I did was 5 things bad about the Sony A7R2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, now we're doing the Fujifilm and the Hasselblad.
That was my personal camera, and
It was.
now I went to the upgrade, a huge upgrade
Level
to the Hasselblad. Yeah. It's been raining a lot like the last 2 weeks, so that's why the sky is kind of gloomy, but the light's really nice and soft.
Yeah, it's nice.
So we're gonna try to shoot as much as we can outside, and then we're gonna make our way in, most likely with the second wardrobe change.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
This is
Those big brown eyes always take over
makeup
the
all the way to reception.
Yeah, you
Makeup
can make
ceremony.
me laugh and cry just by being around. If heaven's door is open, it's 'cause you kicked it down. Every word
That is cold, but it's not cold.
say, every smile you fake, I let you go. It's sad to see you feeding off the feeling. Every heart you break, every soul you shake, I let you go. It's you, not me, who messed up now. When it's trouble in your birthday, if you would stay, baby, I run away, baby.
So the cool thing about the GFX 50R is it has face detection, and it actually helps me focus on Nina just by using face detection. With the X1D, what I have to do is hold down the AF/MF button, choose the focus point, focus on Nina's face, and take the shot. Can you do that again? 1, 2, and 3. So if Nina moves a little bit, it's gonna change the focus point. Focus on her face, then take the shot. Sometimes I can use back button focus. 1, 2, and 3. There you go. One more shot. 1, 2, and 3. I'm just standing on the hill so I can be taller than Nina. So some physical features about both cameras. They actually feel both pretty good in the hands. They both have great build quality, but I do prefer the Hasselblad X1D as in ergonomics. Just the way it feels when you hold the camera, feels pretty solid. And it does feel like it's a better build camera in my hands. The GFX 50R does seem bigger, and it kind of seems a little bit more hollow than the Hasselblad X1D, which seems very solid. Both don't have any top LCD screens. The Hasselblad just has one dial that you can turn, the modes. This has a couple dials, exposure compensation, a different shutter speed, aperture priority, and another dial on the top where you can change if you're in aperture priority mode, the aperture, or you can customize the dial. Both have rear touchscreens at the back, and both are weather sealed. As in weight, they're both weather sealed, yes. So if it rains on us right now, they'll both be okay.
A little safe.
Yeah. X1D, it's about 1.6 pounds or 725 grams. 50R is about 1.7 pounds, 775 grams. So the Hasselblad X1D being 1.6 pounds versus 1.7 is slightly lighter. But again, both feel really good and no problems using them. Sometimes on this, the shutter button sticks. I don't know if it's dirty inside or it's just electronic contact with the lens. A bird before, a butterfly. 1, 2, and 3. Some internal features of both cameras. They both use the same Sony sensor, 44 by 33 millimeters, or crop digital medium format camera. The GFX 50R does about 3 frames per second. X1D does about 2 frames per second. What I'm really liking about the 50R is the EVF. The electronic viewfinder is about 3.69 million pixels, so it's very clear inside. This is the X1D Mark I, and the Mark I has only a 2.36 megapixel EVF. Both is pretty sharp, but I would prefer the EVF from the GFX versus the EVF from the Hasselblad X1D. Magnification, they both look about the same. I'm thinking they're about 0.77x magnification, and I'm sure both has 100% frame coverage.
Those big brown eyes always take over the room. Yeah, you can make me laugh and cry just by being around. If heaven's door is open, it's
Nice.
'cause you kicked it down. Every word you say,
Let me know when you're ready, Godfrey.
you think I let you go. It's hard to see you
Good pose.
love the feeling.
One more shot.
Every heart you
Good. So focus points, both are contrasted tech. Both cameras do not have any phase detection focus points. The X1D, starting off at 2.8 millimeters, has about, or actually, initial focus points. I believe this one has, let me just pull this up real quick. I see here, at 4 millimeters, has about 35 focus points, but as you go down from 2.8 to f2, the focus points increase. I think it's around 200. I gotta confirm that. The Fujifilm GFX 50R has 117 contrasted tech focus points. So pretty much the same focus points in each camera.
Every
full
word
body.
you say, every smile you fake, I let you go. It's hard to see you feeding off the feeling. Every heart you break, every soul you shake, I let you go. It's you, nothing will mess up now.
Special edition, the 416
Every word you
black color, not the
say,
silver.
every smile you fake, I let you go. It's hard to see you feeding off the feeling.
Checking out the battery life on both cameras, we've compared the two and both has about 1 bar down. I know the GFX is rated at about 400 shots, CIPA. Hasselblad doesn't really have an official rating, but with my experience, it's about 300 pictures.
Yeah.
But I think very comparable because I started to shoot with both batteries fully charged, and I only went down like 1 bar on both. I say it's like 80% left, around there, and we must have gotten over like 100 shots in. Video capabilities, these are not video cameras, so both shoot only 1080p, not 4K. This, I believe, at 29.97 frames per second. This one is around, I believe, only 25. Price used, you can get the GFX 50R as of September 2019 at around $3,300 used. This special edition Hasselblad X1D for 116, you can get it for about $4,000 used. So price difference is about maybe $600 or $700. And if someone really wants something that's really, that feels really great in the hands and has really great build quality and significantly smaller size, then you may want to spend a little extra money. It started to rain outside, so right now we are inside this cafe. I forget the name of the cafe. I think it's called The Point Cafe.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're gonna do some shots indoors, test out the high ISO, and kind of move closer to the light and do some final shots there.
Every word you say, every smile you fake, I let you go. It's sad to see you feeding off the feeling. Every heart you break.
So some unique features for each camera. The Fujifilm GFX 50R, you can actually control the aperture right from the lens itself. For most lenses, the shutter speed dial is up here. And we just discovered with the customizable button in the front, you can press it and you can change your ISO from there. With the X1D, it's mostly just menu driven, changing ISO from the menu, shutter speed from maybe this dial or that dial. So not as much customizable as the GFX. The Hasselblad is trying to go with a more minimalistic design and feel and the way the buttons and dials are. Because I think I see you changing the shutter speed right from one of the dials.
Yes.
And I think also the aperture.
Right here.
Yeah, then the ISO is just through a menu.
Yes.
Yeah. A unique feature of the Hasselblad, they advertise Hasselblad's natural color solution. The HUI Hasselblad user interface is really cool at the back of the screen. The RAW files, you can't do compressed RAW. Every RAW file is 100 megabytes. GFX 50R does have a flip out screen, which is pretty cool. And it's still touch screen when it's flipped out. Like I said, all the dials on the outside. And face detection, which is pretty cool and easy to shoot while we're inside here. I just do the composition and press the shutter. X1D always have to use the focus point on your eye. Okay, we have maybe about 10 more minutes of light, so we're going to continue shooting.
Every word you say, every smile you fake, I let you go. It's sad to see you feeding off the feeling. Every heart you break, every soul.
And here we have both cameras side by side. Each is doing 1080p video. I believe the Hasselblad is only at 25 frames per second and GFX 50R is 29.97. You'll notice right away that the X1D has a little bit more of a greenish, contrasty, warm look, and the GFX has like a cooler magenta look to the video. But I wouldn't really recommend using these cameras for video, the more for, of course, stills. All right, we're done with our photo shoot. And between the two cameras, the 50R and the Hasselblad X1D, it is very hard to choose just one. I like the Fujifilm because of the face detection. It does feel good in the hands, but the X1D feels better in my opinion. The EVF is really nice. Face detection doesn't work 100% of the time, maybe like 85 to 90%. I remember when I was shooting you and you're wearing the hat, couldn't really detect your face sometimes. If you're in a lot of shadow, doesn't really detect Nina's face. But maybe I'm biased because this is my personal camera. I will go with X1D. I feel more of a connection with it. Even though it's kind of quirky, sometimes the shutter button doesn't really continue all the way and it doesn't take the shot. But I can just, I'll try again and I'll use back button focus and it'll take it. I'm not too sure that's a quirk. I did update the firmware again and it did become better. But yeah, I would have to choose X1D just because I feel more of a connection, easy to go through the menus. Image quality, I think both is pretty amazing. Nina, what do you think about the photo shoot overall and both of the cameras?
I think I have to go with... No, I can't pick. They're both
You can pick.
I guess color-wise, I might like the Fuji, but I noticed the Hasselblad is a little warm on this monitor. Yeah, so it's probably going to be different post-editing, right? But photo shoot went well. No mosquitoes.
Yeah.
No more mosquitoes.
No more mosquitoes. Yeah.
But yeah.
And I need to ask you, as a wedding photographer,
Yes.
and you do a lot of weddings, if you were to use a mirrorless medium format, which would you choose, the X1D or the 50R? If your client says, I want the best image quality possible.
Best image quality possible, I might have to go with the Hasselblad because you could crop it. How many megapixel was it, Rod?
Both
they're
are
both.
51 megapixels.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So it comes down to like usability. I'm not too sure if you would prefer to use this more because everything's manual or because you do shoot in manual mode, you're telling me. Yeah.
Mostly manual. No, I might have to go with the Fuji then.
I think it's quicker.
Yeah, it's quicker.
It's quicker to take the shots, moving location to location.
Yeah, and then I saw you having a hard time kind of like focusing on this
Yeah.
one. Yeah, a lot of...
Moving the focus point around to focus on an eye and take the shot. This one's just face detection.
Right.
Yeah, I guess I just prefer that, just the way it feels in my hands.
Yeah.
And it's...
Carrying wise, this feels so much better. Like
Yeah.
it's a little heavy, but it feels so much better in your hand. Like you won't drop it. This one, you need the strap.
Yeah.
Just to, you know.
A little bit
make sure-
bigger.
Yeah, it's bigger too. This is a lot of metal. I feel the plastic in this. Yeah.
True, yeah,
Yeah.
I noticed that.
And then you're mentioning about the heat.
Yes, correct. Yes, thank you. Again, using this on another photo shoot on the channel, I did notice the bottom plate getting hot and where the battery is also heating up. And I was saying to you earlier, I think that's why the 50R is a little bit more thicker and bigger, bulky, probably for the heat dissipation. Yeah, temperature control. Yeah, versus this is so compact and the sensor heats up. Yeah. Okay, anything else for our viewers? Instagram.
Follow me on Instagram, NinaVision, 2_.
I'll put it right here.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. And in the description below, I'll put a link to it.
Yeah, thank you for having me all the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, always having a good time.
Thank you. Bye. Hey everyone, we are home now and I want to check out the raw files from the X1D and 50R. All the files you're going to see on the computer have been unedited. I was using auto white balance for both cameras and shooting both lenses, which is the 45mm for both the Hasselblad and the GFX. Both their 45mm lenses, shot wide open, Hasselblad at 3.5 and Fujifilm at 2.8. Okay, so looking at Nina here, just zooming in 1:1, checking for sharpness. I do notice that, and I'm going to do my best to always make the Hasselblad on the left hand side. I do notice that the GFX files are so sharp. I really feel like sharpness is being added in or baked into the raw files. A lot of people do comment from what I've been reading online that you need to tone down sharpness a little bit. And you're going to see why with the higher ISO towards the end of the comparison here. Okay, let's move on to the next set of photos. Hasselblad on the left hand side. I do notice that the Hasselblad shoots a little bit more greenish and warm, and the Fujifilm shoots a little bit more cooler and magenta. That's what I've been noticing. And if you're wondering if there's a huge difference between the 3.5 and the 2.8 for the Fujifilm, as in bokeh or depth of field, as you can see from this photo, there's not really a huge difference. Yeah, not a huge difference, very minor. It is about a stop or stop and a half difference. If you want to check for sharpness, both, as you can see, very sharp lenses. As for skin tones, in my opinion, the Hasselblad colors, or Hasselblad's color natural color solution, I do feel like Hasselblad's skin tones of Nina is more accurate than the Fujifilm. And again, I'm using auto white balancer, so your results will vary if you actually set in your correct white balance for the model skin tone. But in my opinion, the Hasselblad skin color is more closer to Nina's skin color. Okay, next set of photos. Hasselblad on the left hand side. I do want to also check for dynamic range. Both use the same sensor. So just lowering down highlights, able to get back everything from the clouds. Shadows boosted up, no problems there. GFX, highlights all the way down. Shadows boosted up. I don't see any problems with it. They use the same Sony sensor, so results are going to be like very similar. Yeah, no problem with their basically 15 stops of dynamic range. Okay, let's check the higher ISO. Both is at 3200. Hasselblad would be on the left hand side. Again, more natural skin tones with Nina. With the Hasselblad GFX is a little bit more contrasty, magenta, punchy. For the, I just want to show you the profile of the Hasselblad is embedded right here. And like I showed in previous videos, to get that, you just click on the manage profiles and make sure legacy is check mark, and you can choose embedded. For the 50R files, I always use the previous RAW files have always been camera Provia, and here will be the camera Provia standard. I did a reset on these files before the video started, putting them all back. Okay. So let's compare the two. And this is at ISO 3200. Let's zoom in. And you will notice that, again, GFX is really sharp, so sharp that the noise seems more apparent. But let's go to 6400. Okay, zooming in. GFX still loading. Yeah, it will seem more noisy at ISO 6400. Both are very sharp. Colors are still very good, holding up. But it's just the extra sharpening applied, and you can start to see the lens profile correction being applied to the RAW file. You'll start to see the swirls here, and that's for the lens profile being applied, and it starts to get apparent at higher ISOs. But one way to get rid of these lines shown on the 50R is to lower down the sharpness, which I'm going to do now. Okay, so we see it there, but if you lower down the sharpening from 40 to 20 and have the radius at around 0.8, it's pretty much gone. Yeah, Hasselblad left hand side. There you go. It's pretty much gone. Just gotta lower down the sharpness a bit. Okay, next 12,800. Okay, still loading the GFX files. you're gonna think this is really terrible compared to the X1D. Again, you see the swirls here. Let's just see if we can bring that down. 20 and about a 0.8. Okay, going back to library. Hasselblad left hand side. Loading up the Fuji file. It did help. Yeah. But actually I still prefer the Hasselblad files over the Fujifilm files. Okay, this is one of my favorite photos from the photo shoot. Conclusion, for me personally, I would choose the X1D just because it's very simple. The Hasselblad user interface is very easy to use. Not too much dials or buttons on the camera, and I like simple cameras. Image quality in both cameras are really excellent. I did notice when holding up the X1D to my face and the 50R to my face, the 50R does seem a lot larger, but a little bit more hollow feeling. If you really care about the usability, the 50R is of course faster, better EVF. Face detection is really awesome, it helps a lot. It does fail sometimes, and that's where the Hasselblad X1D's focus point comes in, where you can just focus on the model's eye. So it really depends what you feel more comfortable with shooting. For me, I do majority portraits, some landscapes, not that much, maybe like 10% landscapes, but for the kind of work I do, X1D is fine. But if you want to take the 50R to maybe a small event, or you're just tired of always trying to move the focus point and want the face detection, and you don't want any lag in the camera, the 50R is an excellent choice. And the 50R is actually more affordable, still a lot of money, but used prices now are around $3,300 compared to the Hasselblad as of September 2019, it's around $4,000. But both great cameras, both have great lenses for the system. It's a really hard choice if you want to get into mirrorless medium format, the X1D or the 50R. But if you want the smallest and the more portable X1D, if you want the better usability, as in a lot more options and a quicker camera system, then the Fujifilm 50R. Thank you for watching Guam Photography, and please subscribe.